All right. Good morning, everyone. It is just after 9, so I will go ahead and get started. My name is Nikita Green, and I am the program director for the Leadership Greensboro program, which is a program within the Chamber of Commerce. I have been with the program since 2017. As a matter of fact, tomorrow will be my third year here at the Chamber and working with Leadership Greensboro. The program, however, has been around for years. The program began in 1976. So this has been a long-standing gem in the community. And I think by the end of our session today, you will certainly see why. I will introduce you just to a couple of people who are joining me today. They are going to talk with you in a little bit. But I want you to at least meet them now. So if you want to give a quick introduction, I'll first, let's see if I can, just give me 1 second. There she is. I wanted to make sure Kelly York was here. Hi, Kelly.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to spotlight you for just a second so everyone can see you. Would you like to give a quick introduction?
Hey, yes, good morning. My name is Kelly York. I am a class of 2020 graduate and have been chosen to be a 2021 program chair, and just cannot say enough wonderful things about Leadership Greensboro. My company sponsored me to go. I'm a director of resource development with Smith Leonard accounting firm. And I cannot say enough good things. I had such a wonderful experience, even with COVID and a few kinks in the program that we weren't expecting, but it's a testament to the structure of the program, to the wonderful leadership like Nikita. And I'm just so thrilled to be here with y'all today and happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Awesome. Thank you. And Marcus, I don't see you anymore.
I'm back. I got kicked off for whatever reason.
Okay. I was like, wait, where did he go? Well, let me spotlight you as well so they can see you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, I just want to welcome everybody to this morning's informational session. Grateful to see so many wonderful faces here. As I'm sure Nikita said, I'm one of the recent graduates from Leadership Greensboro, and I have the opportunity to share as program chair along with Kelly and a couple other graduates from this past year's class. And I'm just excited to be here. Leadership Greensboro was a great experience for me. For someone who's not from Greensboro, I've definitely enjoyed it, getting to know new people, getting to expand my network, and just continue to grow as a leader within this community. So I would definitely encourage you all, if you have not filled out your application, to please do so. It's a wonderful experience, and I promise you that you will not regret it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Marcus and Kelly. They'll be available to talk with you a little bit more about their experience later and to answer questions. So first, I'll try to get us going with just giving you a little Zoom tutorial if you haven't used it. Let me just let's do this. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see the screen here. If you'll pay attention to the highlighted parts over in the right corner where it says participants, you'll see that if you hover over your name, you can unmute yourself by clicking the mic and it will turn to green. You can turn your video on and off as well in the same way. You also can, at the bottom of that same section, so bottom right, you can also, as I ask questions, you can hit yes or no. At the bottom there, you can also raise your hand if you click on more. And when you come toward the middle of the screen, a toolbar should present as well. And so if you wanted to give a thumbs up, you wanted to clap, you can click the reactions button. If you want to search participants or see what other participants are here. You can also click on the participants link. If you click on, still at the bottom on the toolbar next to reactions, if you click on more, that will take you to chat. As well, you can stop and start your video from this toolbar. So that will just give you a little bit of an overview. For those of you who are on your phone, it may be, if you're using the app, if you're dialing in, it's different. But if you're using the app, you still have those functions, but you might have to tap your screen on the phone to be able to awaken those menus. On your phone as well, in order to see other participants, you'll have to swipe left, and it will, show you the thumbnail videos of all the people. I will have everyone on mute during the presentation, but you can take yourself off of mute. If you do need to ask a question, you can also pop, if questions are coming to you as I'm speaking, you can certainly pop your questions into the chat. We'll have kind of a dedicated portion at the end, but if you have a question now, please feel free to pop that question in the chat, and I will do my best to pay attention to that as we go along. So let's see, I see a chat. So thumbs up if everybody is good. You can hear and see. Awesome. All right. Okay. So I wanted to start with this quote, because I think it encapsulates the value of these programs, that leadership and learning are really two things that are indispensable to one another in order to be a good leader. Constant learning is a critical part of that. And so I think it's great to see that there are so many community leadership programs. There's a program at High Point, there's a program at Alamance. I think it can't be enough, because we definitely, we do need leaders to be in a constant state of evolution. The other thing is, I heard this a couple of years ago at a meeting with Michelle Geathers-Clark. She's the president and CEO of the United Way. And she said, in kind of talking about poverty, in particular, and the issue of poverty in Greensboro, Michelle said that the most vulnerable citizens in our community deserve for their leaders to be well-versed in the issues that impact them most. And so that's one of the things that we do through the Leadership Greensboro program, is make sure that that our leaders are not just learning tools and skills to be better leaders, that they are also informed about the community that they're in. So actually, before we really get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to actually pause for a quick second, and I want to give a quick poll, actually, to get to know you a little bit better. So in just a second, on your screen, you should see a poll. Kelly, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the poll? Awesome, thank you. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a second and responding to the poll, just will give us a quick little info about who's in the room, and I'll show it to you too, so you can see once all the responses are in. So I'll give you a few minutes for that, or a few seconds, I should say. Okay, I'm going to take about 15 more seconds to get some more responses. All right, going to close the poll and share the results with you so you can see them. So it looks like most of you have not had the challenge of having a birthday or wedding, only by a margin. It looks like about half and half, actually. So some of you have had to deal with figuring out how to celebrate yourself or others during this quarantine. It's good to see that we've have quite a few people that have been in Greensboro for a while. That's great to know, because that means that that you're pretty invested in the community. But I guarantee you, I've had people in the class that are from Greensboro, born and raised, who said the same. I guarantee you that there will be lots to still learn, to discover if you're in Leadership Greensboro. Um, I suspected actually that you guys would be most over the word unprecedented, but you'll see one of these words later, I'll say. So thank you for just indulging me with that for just a moment. It helps us get to know you. All right, so we'll get back into it. Okay. All right, so I want to give you just kind of a snapshot of the program first, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. First of all, Leadership Greensboro is, like I said, it's a community leadership program. So the goal of it, overarching in programs like ours, is to help people become leaders in their community. So by learning more about the community, learning more about the opportunities in the community, the goal is to make sure that the people who are in the community are equipped leaders and those who are invested in it. But this program in particular has 3 parts to it. And the first part is what most people think about, is the formal education components, which is what Kelly and Marcus have just completed. The program in general is designed with the Greensboro as the focus. So as I said, certainly we are Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem is a region. We have very much a regional culture here. This particular program is going to really dive as deep as possible into understanding Greensboro, to exposing our our participants to that. We have 3 overarching things that we want to have happen in the program. That's connect, serve, and impact. We want to make sure that the class is connected to each other, that they have a strong network of 44 other people from a diverse background within the city that they can collaborate with, they can partner with. When they have a question, they can reach out to. If they want someone to serve on their board, they can reach out to them and say, hey, I think you'd be great for this, that kind of thing. So this is better than going to one-off networking events. This provides the opportunity for people to genuinely build relationships with one another. Also, it connects the class to the community, as I mentioned, by going inside of it, giving an in-depth view of what's happening in the city. As well, we provide through the program a formal opportunity for our class to serve area nonprofits through our action learning programs. Our action learning projects. So we do pair with area nonprofits to perform projects that they've designed for us to give our class an opportunity to lend their skills to the nonprofit. But I also think by exposing the class to the city, to nonprofits throughout the program, it provides an avenue for people who may not have known before what kinds of nonprofits are available, what the need is, and how they can serve. And by doing all of that, by connecting people to the community better, creating a network for them of other leaders that they can access, and by instilling in them kind of a pride in the city that positions people to impact the quality of life in Greensboro. And it gives them a cohort of people to do that with. So we'll drill down a little bit on part 1, the education component. So that's what most people are thinking about when they're thinking about Leadership Greensboro, is this part. It's a 9-month kind of formal part of the program where we meet on a monthly basis with the cohort, and we have themed program days. So for example, we have an economic development day, we have a nonprofit day, we have an education day. So we have these themed program days that give us the space and opportunity to dive as deeply as we can into that area within Greensboro. So it's very specific. So while, yes, understanding education from a federal level, from a state level is very important, our focus, again, keeping in mind that this central focus of the program is about Greensboro. So we'll look at those issues as it relates to Greensboro. The program also meets from, I mentioned 9 months, but it meets typically between August and September through May. As Kelly mentioned, we had a little bit of a pandemic, so that changed a little bit for us. We also, this year, will push the program back to begin for sure in the latter part of September. So as to give us some time to kind of see where things will go with state regulations regarding said pandemic. We, as well, a central part of what we're doing is providing curriculum from the Center for Creative Leadership. This has been something that's been a part of the program since 2017, since the 2017 class, so beginning actually in 2016. But it's been very exciting to be partnering with the Center for Creative Leadership. Our up to now, our class has been on site at the Center for Creative Leadership for 3 full days. They also provide a virtual learning experience for the class as well, toward the latter part of their experience, and just a host of tangible books, white papers, resources that the class can utilize as well. So we all are in a very flexible state of mind right now. The intent is for us to continue with that in person at the Center for Creative Leadership, but we also are in the process right now developing that or transitioning that curriculum that we do with our class to a virtual format if that is needed. We also have been super fortunate to have dynamic facilitators from the Center for Creative Leadership. When you see their bios, you wonder, how long do you have to live to do all of the things that they've done? But they're quite engaging as well. So that is a center part of the program, and that's where you get the formal tools regarding leadership development. Overall, I think the program provides this kind of in-depth exposure to the issues in our community by approaching it through these themed program days. I also mentioned earlier that we do action learning projects, and those are we typically start those around December, and the class gets to select the project that they want to work on. They get to learn about what's available, select the project that they want to work on, and they work in teams of 5 to 7 people. So they get to live put those tools that they learn at the Center for Creative Leadership and the information that they're learning about the city, they get to put those things to use live during the action learning project. I'll let Kelly and Marcus tell you a little bit about their experience with that as well. Each year we select up to 45 outstanding, I think, leaders to participate in the program. Our goal is to make sure that the class is as diverse as possible. You probably, if, for example, you're in a nonprofit industry, you probably talk to people in the nonprofit industry all the time. If you work in a food security space, that's probably who you're interacting with quite a lot. So the goal is for this program to introduce you to a very diverse network, different backgrounds, different skill sets, different industries, and we strive to make sure that the thought in our program, in our project work, is as diverse as possible. So in terms of that formal educational part, as I said, obviously we are in your favorite word, the new normal right now. So we're all in the middle of figuring out our new, what our new space is and what we can do. And while as we continue to figure that out, We have, planned for this program to be in person and to meet in person according to state guidelines. But we are also planning all of our program days with an alternate virtual component, so that if we are not able to gather, in accordance with regulations, that we can still meet and still have value. And again, I think Kelly and Marcus could share with you what that experience has been like. But we can now say, thanks to this pandemic, we've not ever done this before, but beginning in March, when things kind of shifted for us here in North Carolina, we did have to shift our program virtual. So in so doing that, the content will be much more concentrated. So we will still have our themed program days. It will be much more concentrated. We will probably have to incorporate some individual work, some pre or post individual work that you'll do on your own as well. And we will definitely be mindful that virtual is different. So when you're in a classroom with someone, you can lean over and share a laugh about something that just happened, or you can ask a question to the person sitting next to you. So we're mindful of that, and we'll be able to use technology to infuse in those one-on-one conversations throughout our program days, as well as small group socials. One thing we learned at the Center for Creative Leadership as well is the value of resiliency. Adults need breaks too, probably naps as well, but adults need breaks as well. So we'll infuse those into the program also. So we definitely have a plan, as I said, to be in person if we are allowed. We of course have to get guidance on what size group we can have. So we have an alternate as well. If we're not able to gather in a group of 45, we do have an alternate plan, much like the school systems and colleges and universities, so that we can be together, but do so in a way that's safe. I'm going to pause for just a moment. I think I saw, or maybe not. Okay. All right. So the second part of the program is what we call our volunteer leadership. So Marcus and Kelly just finished their program literally last week. And so really, really grateful for them to be on here this morning. But they just graduated last week, but they were elected by their class to serve as program chairs. And so as program chairs, they will lead the programming essentially for the year, for the next class. So for the people who are selected for this upcoming class starting in September, those folks will see Marcus and Kelly a lot at every program day. They will help me with leading the overall planning for the full program year. They'll also be, an extension of your class in that way. There'll be an opportunity to additional people to have an opportunity to build a relationship with. So this is that volunteer leadership part. We have each year 4 program chairs that work with me in that capacity. And then all of the other folks from the 2020 class will serve as day chairs. So they will work in small teams with other people in their class to plan a program day. So, we have folks that are going to be working on our orientation or our economic development day. They'll focus specifically on planning the content for that particular day, with leadership from me, from Marcus, Kelly, and the other 2 program chairs. So it's a great way, again, to not only put those skills that you learn to use, but it's a wonderful way for the day chairs and the program chairs to extend their network as well, and to get to know an even wider network of diverse leaders, and to build those relationships. So there's this constant connection between the classes. There's ongoing continuity. And then the third part is ongoing alumni engagement. In the past 3 years, I think, that was one of the things that I learned the most in talking to people when I first got here. I wanted to know what ideas do people have, what's important to them, what do they like about the program. And what I learned is that this alumni engagement component is really important. I think it's definitely central to why we do these programs, not only so you can learn more about the community, but so that you can continue to work to collaborate and give back to the community. And you do that by having a constant connection with your broader network. And so I think what we've built now is a much more robust alumni engagement arm. We founded an LG Alumni Association and launched that in January 2019. And as a part of that, we also have an alumni council that works to plan events and activities for the Alumni Association. We have for many years also had a Leadership Greensboro advisory board who are, comprised of alumni that serve in an advisory capacity for the strategic kind of components of the program. But our alumni not only are a part of our own network, but they're definitely out in the community. As you can see here in one of the photos, one of our alumni is now the chief of police for the city of Greensboro. But they definitely are inspired to serve as a part of this experience. And we've had have a past mayor that's an alum of the program. He actually met who would become his campaign manager in the Leadership Greensboro program. So there's certainly opportunity for people to engage with the program, but also in the community. So I wanted to share this with you because last year it's actually started in 2018, but we partnered with an evaluator at UNCG to do an evaluation of our program. And because we wanted to test and see if, it's one thing to hear from people when they finish how wonderful the experience was, or to meet an alum in the community and they say they had a great time, but to understand why the experience was meaningful for them, we wanted to do this evaluation. And so I'll just go over a couple of things that came out of that. I think it was a very rich and meaningful experience. But as I mentioned to you, 89% of people said that they increased their awareness of community needs through the Leadership Greensboro experience. And we looked at that on a continuum as well. So it was nearly 98% who had some increase, but that, in their awareness of the community. Likewise, I thought this was something that was interesting, I guess related to that. Not only were people more aware of the community, but 57% of people said that this program helped them to realize that they have within them the power to make a difference. So that was something that was unexpected and great to hear, that when you know more about the community and you are prepared to lead, that you know that you can. That was a great takeaway. But what a lot of people think about when they think about these programs is the opportunity to build their network. And so just that 66 people said that they grew their network significantly is really important to note. So these are just a few. I just wanted to share this with you quickly so you can see kind of what the value of the program is and why our alumni said that this was so important. And just to give you just a little bit more in terms of the design, we did a survey of alumni from the last 10 years. And we chose that because the program has undergone some different iterations along the way, but we felt like in terms of experience, it would be the most similar over the past 10 years. And they were surveyed as well as focus grouped and individually interviewed to drill down more into their survey responses. And this was certainly all volunteer. So even though, as I mentioned, we work on these projects within the class, within the cohort, and the goal is it is short term for them to understand the community better, but long term we'd like to see that that there's lasting impact on the quality of life because of this program. And so there have been a number of notable things. There's lots of projects that I think were highly impactful to the community. These are some things that I think would be very visible to you all. That we actually spent some time at the Greensboro Children's Museum with this particular class in February. It was actually our last time that we got to physically be together. But that was a direct project of Leadership Greensboro. It was actually alum. Someone put together a team of Leadership Greensboro alum and said, hey, this is what we'd like to do. And so that was built specifically by Leadership Greensboro alum. The teacher supply warehouse was the same. It was a project that began in the class, and that team stayed on to work together for a year to build what is now known as the teacher supply warehouse at Guilford Education Alliance. And though Health Serve is no longer a clinic here, it's in another iteration in the Cone Health System. It was something that was built through the Leadership Greensboro program to help underserved people get access to health care. The Guilford Nonprofit Consortium, again, basically a team of folks who knew that Leadership Greensboro was full of people who were passionate about the community, said, hey, we'd like a team to go check out this consortium in another city. And 2 foundations locally provided funding to the project team to go and check out this program and to bring it back here and build it. And it's now the Guilford Nonprofit Consortium. Likewise, 2 other leadership programs have grown out of the Leadership Greensboro program. Leadership North Carolina was started by 6 people who were alum of Leadership Greensboro, and initially it began as a regional thing. They were trying to build a regional program and decided to take it statewide. And Other Voices is a program, again, the then mayor of the city approached Leadership Greensboro and said, here's what we're trying to do. And out of that came this task force who created the Other Voices program. It's a diversity and inclusion leadership program here at the Chamber of Commerce. So when we do projects through Leadership Greensboro, we have some short-term intended outcomes, but there have been things that are a lasting part of this community because of what we have been able to do in Leadership Greensboro. So I'll talk to you about what is required of you. We talked about what we do in the program, but what you're busy professionals and leaders already in your current roles. So I'm sure that this is a question for you is, what am I gonna have to give? We do have an attendance policy so that the program is meaningful, so that there are relationships that people can actually build with one another. And so we do require that people attend all program days. And we have very specific, we have this in writing so that the participant and the employer can see what is expected. And we understand that life happens, so people can miss up to 2 program days during the program. We do have required activities outside of the program days, so that might be as simple as visiting a museum, or it might be that watch this video in preparation for the program day. As I said, if we are going to have to infuse virtual program days or we'll be online, those days will be more concentrated with content, and there will be some outside activities with those days, things that people can do on their own. It is a requirement of the program that people participate in the action learning projects. So that's not something that that you opt out of. It's a requirement as well that you complete the Center for Creative Leadership's curriculum also. And then we do because this is so, we've seen it over and over again, make the program so much more meaningful. We do require that people participate in part 2. So come back and volunteer. Use your leadership to help kind of help with the next class and planning the next class. So those are just, some of the basic requirements. I think in general, it is a time commitment. Our program days are full, usually a full day, 7 or 8 hours. So certainly being away from work is a commitment during that time. Even if there are, Kelly and Marcus can tell you, even if our program days are virtual, it still requires your presence. So even if you're online, so being away from work and away from those responsibilities is something to consider. The project work is outside of the time that we spend together as well. So that is an additional commitment, that you're spending time with your team in those project meetings. So if people are super excited about being a part of Leadership Greensboro, which I hope you are, here's just some information about applying. I'll definitely follow up with each of you and send you this link as well. But we do have an online application that's live right now. It's available right now. You can see the whole application as well. I would say to put, set aside some time to work on it. But if you want to see what is being asked of me, you can definitely go check this out and look at the whole application before starting. If you do start the application, keep SurveyMonkey open so that you can come back to it and not lose what you've already input. It does, we do require recommendation letters. It is not like college though, so don't stress about the recommendation letters. What we would like to, as we're putting together the class, it's important for us to know what other people say about, why they think you'd be great in the program, or what your, who you've been as a leader thus far. So it's usually a paragraph, a strong, really informative but concise paragraph about your leadership abilities, or broadly why the recommender thinks you'd be great in this kind of program. We would like for this to be from peers. It could be someone you worked on a board with. Certainly it'd be great to have your employer. The only thing I would say is maybe not your spouse or family member, even though I know that they know you really well. So that is something that you'll need to have and upload into the application. So it's something that you would need to do before you actually sit down to submit your application, is to get those 2 recommendation letters. And this is in the application, but just to underscore it, you will need to put those recommendation letters into one document and upload that in one document on the application. And you will also need to review our attendance policy and have and you sign it, as well as have your employer sign it. It really is important for people to know what's expected, and we definitely think out of respect, since most often the employer is the person that's paying for the participant. Out of respect for the employer as well, we think it's important for them to know what's required of you in the program. So that's something that you'll sign and upload into the application. So you'll need to do those 2 things before you actually submit your application, is to have that ready to upload. Our tuition for the program is $3,100 for companies that are members of the Chamber of Commerce. And so for if your company is not a member of the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, the tuition is $3,600. Most people, or a large majority of people, are, and so we give this price because this is the discounted rate for our chamber members. It is not due at application though. It won't be due until you are notified that you're accepted into the program. So that's not something that we're asking for upfront. So I want to show you this as well. Just so you can see the at the top here is our web page for the Leadership Greensboro program. So you can link to the application from there as well. And you could also get some other information about projects and information about our alumni resources as well. We are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube channel as well. The YouTube channel is newer, but if you want to like see inside the program, that's a good way to do it, is to kind of follow us on social media. Check out the content that we're providing. Gives you kind of a bird's eye view into the program as well. So I'd encourage that if you're not connected to us on either of those 3 social media channels, definitely do so. So I'm gonna stop the screen share for a sec because I know for whatever reason I could not get my chat to come up while I was in the presentation. So I'm sorry if I missed that. But so I will, before I'm going to answer some of the questions that are in the chat, but I want to ask you guys to just pop this. Well, actually, here's what we do. We use the yes or no button. If you go to the participants list, you click on that. At the bottom of that, in the bottom right, you should be able to see the yes, no button. So if you could, please, I want to just see how many of you have taken an online training before. So if you will click yes if you've taken an online training before, no if you haven't. Let's see. Okay. All right. So lots of you. So it looks like the large majority of you have taken an online training. It's just good to know how many people are comfortable. I mean, certainly nowadays, I think all of us who haven't been online, before March definitely have. So that's good to know. So thank you for sharing that. All right. So I'll pitch it to, and I'm going to try to spotlight you here, Marcus and Kelly. Well, actually, hang on for just a second, Marcus. I see you ready. You unmuted. You were all ready. All right, let me just make sure I see a question. So the question is, do you have any specific application recommendations?
And Nikita, I think Kelly and I, for the most part, fielded most of the questions in the chat, but obviously if you want to add to it, by all means.
I see it now. Okay, I'm looking at that now. Never mind.
We got your back.
You see why
We're doing our job.
For that. I appreciate it. I have a question about scholarships, and so definitely this would be the kind of time in our lives that it would be important to have one. We do offer scholarships, but it's based on, so right now the tuition covers the cost of the program. And so anything else would have to come from donations from the community. And so you can imagine that as people are donating to some of those organizations that are really serving people with high needs right now, who've lost employment and things, that we have, we've seen some drops in donations in other areas. So we right now would probably be able to offer a couple of $500 scholarships, but we don't and haven't ever done a full scholarship through the program. The maximum amount that we have offered is $1,000, but because we'd like to be able to assist more than one person, 1 or 2 people, we are going to offer, we will have a couple of $500 scholarships that we can offer this time. And so if that is something that you're interested in, there is a space in the application for you to indicate that, just in an open-ended response, if you'll let us know in the application if you want to be considered for a scholarship. All right. And I'm just making sure. And is there anything that's helpful to include in an application answers that we may not think of? I think so. The application has, it does have some open-ended responses. I'm going to call them essay questions for lack of a better word, but do not feel like you're writing an essay. We want you to, again, you can be concise, but also informative. So there will be some open-ended things. Those are the kinds of things that will help us just get to know you, and your leadership style and your thoughts about the community. That's the main thing. If you're already working in the community, you already have ideas and passions for the community, I would say there's space and opportunity in the application for you to share that. What are your thoughts already about how to address some of the issues in our community? That is even helpful to us in crafting projects. So we do use that information. So I would say that's the main thing. Outside of that, I think we've asked for, I think, what we want to hear in the application. I would say that's the most important thing. All right. So now I will open it up so that Marcus and Kelly can share with you some of their experience. And certainly if you want to unmute yourself, you can, to ask a question. So Marcus and Kelly, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I would say from my experience, probably one of my favorite program days throughout the year was Center for Creative Leadership for 2 days. We were able to spend some time there and just learn. And I just learned so much about myself, not just as a leader professionally, but just as a man, and just the importance of getting the proper rest and just different, leadership skills, things that maybe I didn't know about myself, or maybe things I kind of need to tighten up a little bit. So those 2 days were awesome. They were amazing. I will say that I had a lot of fun working on my project this year. My team, we partnered with United Way for the Power Up +1 Summer Youth Employment Program. And I'm going to brag a little bit because my team won Most Creative Project. So I was definitely grateful and happy about that. And Leadership Greensboro, man, it's just great. And, if you guys choose to apply and you get accepted, you have some big shoes to fill. I won't go into the running joke, but just know that you're following behind the greatest class of all time. And as you go through the program, you will find more out about those inside jokes. But yes, 2020 class is the greatest class of all time. So I'm excited for you guys, and I hope to see a lot of your faces in the program. And as Nikita said, Kelly and I are always here to answer questions. And as you guys get a chance to meet the other 2 program chairs, I can speak for them, and confident to know that they will also be there for you to answer and help you guys along the way.
Yeah, Marcus and I have spared you from the dad jokes of one of our other cohorts, who's fun and keeps it lively. We love him, but we like giving him a hard time too. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of Leadership Greensboro. It's just how quickly you become connected to these people. And there's so many different program days that have different flavors and different immersion experiences where it just brings out different connections. And it's funny, during our graduation, one of the videos was rolling, and it was a screenshot of one of our scenes at Center for Creative Leadership. And this one particular girl and I really connected on that day during a breakout session. And we were both chatting each other going, oh my gosh, I remember that day, and remember sort of that moment we clicked, and then it was off to the races. And so just really cool to be able to take 40 plus people and yet get to know them on totally different levels, get to learn their personal lives and what's going on professionally. And I think people they're so open and gracious and willing to help and willing to teach and willing to offer advice or get you connected or plugged in if you see there's something that they may have a resource for that you don't. And I think, that was very surprising to me too, with sort of that group of 40, 45 people, And my job is a lot of business development. And so I'm out and about all the time in the community. And in a lot of ways, I've been in the community for 15 years, and I feel like I know a lot of people. And I was shocked after our first program day. I think we then had like the state of the community luncheon for the chamber and a couple other different things, how many Leadership Greensboro people that I then knew. I mean, it's 40 new friends in a room, because we're all out there. We're all sort of movers and shakers and going to these same events, and we just were all crossing paths but had no idea about each other. And so this class is very cohesive and really kind of a glue that helps bring you together in that way. So I love that. And then, I think sometimes you look at the price tag and you think, oh, I don't know. And especially at times like now. But when you start to break down the level of experiences that you get, what your day-to-day programs look like, and then you certainly layer on the Center for Creative Leadership, you could not go out and build that or procure that for, I think, less than double, triple the cost of what's being charged. I mean, it really, there is a lot packed into that fee. And I think the value that you get and the ability to carry that forward is just, it's immeasurable in a lot of ways. So I would say for people that are maybe wondering about that and wondering, is it worth it? I mean, I think all of us that have been through would wholeheartedly say yes. And then, yeah, and to sort of hit on the just diversity of the programs too. I mean, some of my favorite days, I would echo what Marcus said about Center for Creative Leadership. I'm a visual person, and I can go right back to some of our breakouts and some of our activities and the lessons learned. And it's really cool to draw on that. And then we had a team building at Camp Weaver YMCA at their camp for sort of our first day. That, I mean, I remember those relationships and conversations that were started that day probably better than any. I mean, it was really, really neat to think, 5 minutes ago you didn't know anybody, and then all of a sudden you're making connections and seeing people you haven't seen in forever that you've moved on from life and didn't realize. Just a lot of beautiful connections that get made there. And I'd say my other favorite day was our education day. We got to do principal for a day. And I have had a kindergartner now heading into first grader. And it was so cool because I actually got to be placed at his school with his principal. And so to really see the inner workings in the day-to-day was very powerful. So really, I guess my whole point in all that is there's something for everybody, and there's relationship connections you can't even dream you're going to make when you're sitting in where you are today.
And if I could just add one thing, like, although we don't know what the state of our world is going to be in here in a couple months, don't feel that if the class has to be virtual that you're going to be cheated, because once, in March, once we start going to a virtual sessions, I didn't feel slighted at all. The information was still valuable. It was still informative. It was still a lot of things that I could pull from to grow as a person. And Nikita has kind of grown into this Zoom guru. And so I didn't know that you can have breakout sessions in a Zoom meeting. And so, so we still got a chance to work, with our different groups and have, little sessions to where we can kind of meet individually with our team. So don't feel that you're going to be slighted by all means. And concerning the price tag, talk to your employers. Ask if your employers would invest in you for you to complete this program. My employer invested in me and paid for me to go through the entire program because they knew that I was going to be able to get something out of it. And I believe it helped that my boss is a alumni of the program as well. So they invested in me to go through this program. So definitely talk to your employer, ask them, if they would invest in you. And then at the end of the program, you get this super nice plaque here that's in my office. And you also get your Leadership Greensboro pin, which is on my blazer that's hanging up on the back of my office door right now.
Go, Marcus.
So, yeah. What'd you say?
I said, go, Marcus.
I'm working for that discount for my alumni registration. but no, guys, I really just want to say that, I believe that you will just, really enjoy this program, and it'll definitely be beneficial, not only to you right now, but as you continue to grow further in your career and in your leadership development.
One other comment or idea too, I believe we had a couple of people in our class that I didn't realize till after the fact, but I don't know that their employer necessarily sent them. It may be that they were part of a civic organization or they were on a board, and that group so say you work for a nonprofit or you're self-employed, but you have heavy community involvement or ties to another organization, it may be that they have scholarship funds or they are willing to help supplement your journey too. So that's something else to consider if you don't have a direct line employer option.
Mhm.
Hey, Nikita, one question that someone, I believe they sent it directly to me by mistake, but or maybe not, but they asked when was the due date for the completed application, and when can they find out if they were, and when will they find out if they were accepted or not?
Yeah, so the deadline for the application is July 3rd. And then we will notify people one way or the other the first week in August. So there'll still be, with the class starting on September 24th, um, with the class starting later in September, it'll still give you more than 30 days to get tuition paid and get ready to notify everybody that your life is changing. So, would you all mind sharing, Kelly and Marcus, would you mind sharing what the time commitment is like? What was that like? Marcus, I know you have like 48 jobs. Kelly, I know you have, like you said, a kindergartner. Can you talk about, what that balance has been like? How have you managed that?
I just say for me, it's just about prioritizing. I knew for me that this was something that I wanted to do, and that you know, people here at my job, invested the time and the money for me to go through this program. So I wanted to make sure that I was present and active for all program days. And so, we had program days once, no more than twice a month, once we started. And it was during the day, full days, but again, they're valuable full days. And then after each program day, we would get together as a class and go out, whether it was the box car or go to a restaurant downtown and have something to eat. And grateful that the program, funded, those events. So that's part of where the tuition money goes to fund those after program events, where we can kind of just let our hair down and just to get a chance to get to know more people within the class and have some fun. So for me, it was, like I say, it was really just balance, knowing that that this program was important to me, and I need to be present. I need to take everything that I could out of it. So excuse me, so I can continue to grow and in my leadership abilities and skill sets.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say the same. I'm one of those people that with all the events I do with my job and just my life in general, I live and die by my calendar. And so I had every program day blocked out. I actually think I bugged the heck out of Nikita before this comparable session last year, just trying to make sure that my calendar would line up. And so I was trying to get the dates and make sure I had everything I needed. And so that was the big thing, is once you're accepted and the calendar's released, go ahead and just put everything on your calendar, block it out. And, I put the out of office to go with it, all those things. And my team knew that I was going to be gone, and then it was a commitment. And I think, once you get there, you want to be engaged. You don't want to miss program days. I mean, you realize how impactful and valuable each day is and how unique each day is. And I would have hated to miss any of them. So to Marcus's point, it just becomes a priority. And I think, Nikita and team does a great job of giving you something compelling enough to want to be there and to pay attention and be focused. So really it's up to you just to block your calendar and show up.
Absolutely, and Nikita understands that life happens, and that's why it was important to kind of share with her. If you can't be there, like for instance, for me, I had a baby right at the top of the program, a couple months into it, and so I knew that that was going to pull me away. So just communicate, say, hey, I got this going on. I may not be able to make it, just so that she knows, and because I think that me communicating that is also important. So so she'll know, and the program chairs will know that this program is important to you. But hey, life happens, and we all understand, because everybody that's a program chair, even Nikita, we're parents, we have jobs, so we get it. So, but just let us know.
All right. So I want to open it up. If anybody has any questions for me, for Marcus or Kelly, feel free. I'm going to try to unmute everyone, but that might not work. So if you want to unmute yourselves, if you have a question, you certainly can, or you can definitely pop it in the chat as well.
Don't be afraid. We like questions.
One question was about the calendar. So the calendar actually is already available. When you go to that LG Apply Today link, you will be able to download and view the calendar before even going into the application. So those dates are already selected and on the calendar. I will follow up with everyone and send you an information packet, which will also include the calendar. So I'll send that to you by email also. But you can check out all of those dates, and you can, yes, like Kelly said, we strongly recommend that you, you know, that at least when you get accepted into the program, that you go ahead and add all those dates to your calendar then. Other questions? I'm going to give several seconds for you to think about it and for you to decide if you want to.
Another comment I would make too, just I think Nikita, you mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, but just the diversity that you get within the program is pretty amazing too. I mean, just people from all walks of life, people fairly new to Greensboro that want to get integrated, people that have lived there all their lives. You've got, you know, marketing professionals, IT professionals, nonprofit directors. I mean, Marcus works at a church and again has 40 something other businesses. So, I mean, it's just amazing when you look at that too. Just the amount of people and exposure you're going to get is just very different. Whereas I feel like many other professional development opportunities I have in my career tends to be a like attracts like kind of scenario where I'm with other marketing professionals or I'm with other accounting people.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the first opportunities I had to really have some impactful leadership development, but with a broad cross section of ideas and perspectives.
I will, I just popped into the chat a video as well. I don't, because this is a virtual space, and I know y'all have 500 other things to do today and probably on Zoom. I'm not gonna show it on here. If we were meeting in person, I would show the video. I would have done it at the top of the hour, but I do want you to check it out if you wanna just, again, if you're like me, I like to see the thing and touch the thing. So, so this is the video link that I posted is the year in review for the 2020 class. And so I have done this for each class each year just to give them kind of a video capsule, time capsule of the experience. But it's a good way to see what does this really look like when you say this theme program day, when you say they build these relationships. Like, what does that look like? It's just a cool way to see that. So it's in the link, it's in the chat, the link to their video if you want to see that and just have more of a inside look. It was made, like I said, for them. So it is specific to them, but I do think it would be useful. So I'll share the link. I'll share the actual calendar with you guys, and I'll share the link to the application in a follow-up email to you. I'll also share this will take a bit to get this online, but I'll share the link to this video as well if you want to go back to it, look at it later. All right. Well, I do very much appreciate you all taking time out of your busy week to be with us and to learn more about Leadership Greensboro. I sincerely appreciate your time. I am happy to answer questions as you go about your day. If you think about things later, certainly feel free to reach out to me. You'll have my email and phone number. And so feel free to reach out if you do want to learn more. Thank you, Marcus and Kelly, so much. Barely, the ink is barely dry on your plaques, and you are willing to be here for us. So thank you so much for giving your time as well. So everyone, enjoy your day. Thank you so much for being here.